behind a money-making adventure and not quite sure where to start? This channel interviews the movers and shakers in their niche. Watch the shows on this channel for more information, get business ideas, or connect with the solution to your problem. PSI TV gives the small business a bigger presence by making TV affordable. Beyond ads, biz brands can now have a channel presence with their content. We are the Netflix of biz brands. If you have a passionate message, the solution to a problem, a new book or product launch, and want to impact a new and expansive audience, have your audience say, I saw you on TV. Today, PSI TV is proud to bring you another star, and this time in the communication niche. Andrew Gatarowitz is the author of The Unfinished Work Week, Lost Personal Time. Many organizations have taken advantage of his programs to increase their position and earning power. He may have just unlocked the secret to remembering more in one exposure than anything else through nonverbal communication. Andy, thank you for being my guest today.
Hey, thank you, Trudy, for having me.
Awesome. And Andy, would you mind showing us your book real quick?
Oh, my little book. Yes, this little book here.
Yep, that's the one.
There it is. It's been around for a while.
All right, good. So Andy, a couple questions for you. Marriages, marketing, and missions would fare better with good communication. That being said, where does communication rank in the many problems that companies worldwide face today?
Believe it or not, Trudy, it ranks number one. Number one, it ranks. And a matter of fact, it costs companies worldwide $40 billion a year because of poor communication. It also costs unknown levels of divorces because of miscommunication. And in your social life, where people are going dating online, etc., it also costs them more than just money. So miscommunication is something that's so big that if you were to correct it, Towers Watson says you can get a 9% ROI on that.
I love ROI.
Yeah, everybody does.
All right. Well, globalization has affected how business is conducted today. We are just working globally today. So global collaboration is actually almost the new normal. So Andy, would you say this is a positive or a negative thing?
Oh, no. This is, you have to do it. You have to do it. Companies are not, as we know in this country, they're not all owned by American companies. They're owned by some European companies, some Asian companies. And the thing is that they're so big that you have your different offices in different countries. But now how do you have to hire people in those companies to work for you? How are you going to talk to them? How are you going to communicate with them? Just because you have an office open in Taiwan doesn't mean they speak English. So therefore, what has become, because of globalization, it's a huge industry today, Trudy. It's the e-language learning industry. You've probably heard of it. People like Duolingo, Babbel, Rosetta Stone, they'll do close to $200 million a year. By 2025, it's going to be a $25 billion industry. So is it good? Yeah, it's really good. But in order to do it correctly, people have to learn, employees have to learn a new language. And so that's why they're going to those types of e-tech, what they call e-tech learning processes.
And communication is not just words, it's way more than that. So I'm sure you'll have a lot to say about that. You are the communication expert here. So Andy, you have an app, a mobile app called Body Chats.
Correct.
How does Body Chats contribute to this whole environment of global collaboration?
Let's take a look at communication and then we'll put the body chats into it. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. When we're talking about communication and people learning, online, and those are good companies, by the way, Babbel, Duolingo, Rosetta Stone, but they're learning words. And so what they're doing is they're learning words that describe words, but they don't give any really meaning to words. And if anybody watching this program today, they'll notice that you're moving. You're turning your head. I'm moving. Because 80% of that conversation is attitudes and emotions of the words you're speaking or of the words somebody's not speaking. So therefore, what Body Chats does, and it's protected by US copyrights by the Library of Congress, we have a 4-part learning system that if you read the unspoken word, the nonverbal conversation, you'll get a true conversation. And it might not be the words coming out of a person's mouth.
And they might actually even contradict because this says something different than this.
Yes, and while you're saying that, Trude, a lot of people think, oh, they're folding their arms, they're being defensive. But you know what? How many arm folds are there? You can fold your arms like this. You can have your thumbs up. You can have your hands holding your body. What do they all mean? They all mean you're defensive. That last one I showed you, holding your body, when you put your arms underneath, hold your body, you're giving yourself a self-hug.
And I do it when I'm cold. I warm myself up under my armpits.
That's exactly right. People normally scrunch their fingers up and put them underneath their armpits and keep warm.
Right?
So yeah, so that's why you just can't read one thing and say, aha, they're defensive. That's not necessarily true. You look for other things to go along with that collaborate that.
I know they use this kind of technique a lot in crime analysis. Do you contribute to that too?
Well, yes, because when you're doing what I've worked with lawyers, when you're working, and now we're working with online dating services, which I think we'll get to a little bit later on. However, when you are reading Body Chats and why it's so unique and so different, we are teaching you to read your body's gestures, and you have a lot of those gestures. Your foot might be bouncing up and down, and by the way, you don't control how fast that goes. Your head does. So don't let anybody tell you anything other than that. Your posture. Are you leaning in? And if you're leaning in and you're on a date and that other person isn't leaning in, what that might be telling you. Your position, and finally your distances. So when you read all 4 of those, then you get a complete answer. Just like if you're reading written sentences, you don't read one word and get the thought process correct. You have to read the whole sentence, because if you take something out of context, it might not be right. So that's what we do with Body Chats. It's a complete system,
Okay, so on that note, you kind of almost said it, but what is the unique positioning of your unverbal learning system?
Okay, the uniqueness of it is this. We just don't show you a picture and give you a long answer like on a book. And there's a lot of apps out there that do that and books that do that. But today, our audience, just like we know, our audience is a young audience. It's not me, it's a young audience. So we're talking about Generation Y, Generation Z, and we're talking about maybe younger Gen X's. Okay, so we're talking somebody from the 20 years old up until maybe the early 40s. But that's your main audience today, especially in business too. So they like to learn a certain way. They don't like to have to sit down and read a book for 2 hours straight. They like to do things in chunks, 10-minute hits, 10 to 15-minute hits. So if they were learning a new language, that's exactly what happens. 10 minutes, bango. They leave it alone, they come back to it later on. Our lessons, we have 40 lessons that are in there. They consist of 9 gesture definitions. They consist of 6 posture definitions, 3 position definitions and 3 distance definitions. Plus you have mix and match quizzes to make sure you're getting it right. Plus you have a picture quiz of 1 or more people. And then we have even a video quiz to see if you can do it in real time. Now, reading the 4 parts in that system, that's what makes it unique and protected by copyright. Found out, oh, there should have been some rules here because I don't read all my emails and everybody's emailing everybody
And there's
else.
only a few characters.
Yes, and now you're down to text.
Can you pack a punch in those few characters?
Hey, you got to do it because otherwise you're going to run out of space. So you better do it. So the great thing about this, now remember, 90% of the people that use video conferencing feel they get their message across faster. Okay? So and by the way, 76% of people working from remotely have to use video conferencing. And you just said it, globalization, you have to use video conferencing, but to use it the right way for communication. Remember that $40 billion. So number one, no, you don't want to just see somebody's face. We can see the rest of your upper half of your body. And this is why I'm sitting this way, so you can see the upper half of my body, because it's more than just your face that you want to look at so you can determine the attitude and emotions of those words coming out of a person's mouth. So it's important that you do that. It's a hindrance if people don't put their cameras on, if they sit up too close to that computer, because we know what they're doing. When the camera's not on, they're not really listening to that conversation. And if they're sitting close to that computer, they probably have 2 screens up. All right, but when you're sitting away from that computer, then the person, for communication again, can see the nonverbal and hear the verbal. That's the best way.
Wow, you shared quite a bit, and I'm sure that's not the plethora of all the stuff that you have. So before we go, Andy, is there anything else that you would like to share?
Well, I just would like to share one last thing with you, perhaps. You know, a lot of people, when they talk about body language, because a lot of people don't know how to read it, and they're on TV and in the paper, and they're talking about one gesture or something like that, and they think it's a novelty. It's not a novelty. It was the first language, and it's been proven. So when I started to tell you a little bit about the leg going up and down fast, your blinking rate, what's that controlled by? That's controlled by your brain too. As a matter of fact, studies have been made that if, please?
It's subconscious.
It's the subconscious. You don't know what you're doing. Now, it's been proven that if you blink at a normal rate of less than 10 blinks a minute, you're telling the truth. That's a sign you're telling the truth. However, if you blink between 10 and 50 times a minute, you're probably lying. You've got to look for these other factors too. And I said 50 times a minute, that's impossible. Until I saw the interview on TV with the CEO of Twitter. And you got to see it, Trudy, because they asked him a question, his eyes going, and all of a sudden they asked me, he saw the answer, he goes like this. And his eyes, I swear to you, 50 times a minute. So it is scientifically driven. This is not some game or something like that. Body language, and I call it body chats because the connotation of body language is a fun thing. No, it's a real serious thing. And if you're going out with one of those 25% of rapists online, you better not be thinking of how cute he is. You better be thinking of, am I safe? And the only way to tell that is not by the words, it's by the body.
Wow. So, you know, some corporations have had you in to help their staff get all organized, or, you know, maybe keynotes or whatever. How can people actually get your book and connect with you?
Oh, if they want to get the book, they can just go on Amazon. It's on there. Okay. If they want to connect with me, well, very, very simple. My email is Andy at body, BODY dash chats, CHATS.com. Very simple. They can go to the website. That's bodychats.com, BODY-CHATS.com, which is a great website, by the way. And of course, you can call me up if you want, 609-410-9291. And I'll repeat that, 609-410-9291. And I'll be happy to talk to you when you give me a call.
All right, guys, and I will put that in the credits so you can write it down and get it right. Andy, it's been a pleasure having you on my show today. Thank you so much for sharing all this communication information and body chat with us. Thank you.
Oh, Julie, thank you so much for having me on your show.